Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. For those that are actually new to the channel, my name is Kiwi and I'm a self-taught data analyst. For those that have stayed on my channel for the past few months, you know that I've actually completed the SQL tutorial series a few weeks back, and this time around, we're excited to show you a brand new series for R programming. So in today's video, we're actually going to talk about why you should choose R, the syllabus that we're going to cover for this course, and also the exercises and course material that is going to be available on GitHub. So my first programming language was actually R programming, and I picked it up during my honors years, where I have to use R programming to analyze a huge amount of sequencing data. So back then, my opinion about this programming language is that it's actually very difficult to learn. Even though I spent huge amount of time looking through the documentation to try to figure out what is going on, I just realized that I just don't understand what's going on. So I was lucky enough to have PhD candidates and also postdocs in my lab that are very supportive, so they are actually quite efficient in using R programming for their own project. So I just take their cheat sheet and then I copy and paste their code into my own script, and guess what, it works. So so that's fine for me. I also spend a lot of time looking into Stack Overflow, so whenever I encounter error, I will actually post the error onto the Stack Overflow and see if people will actually help me from there. That was a terrible mistake. Reason being, for those that have used Stack Overflow, you will know that they are not very forgiving if you don't give a reproducible example. So you just tell them, oh, I did this and then I got this error message, so what should I do? And then they will just tell you to go screw yourself, basically. And it's terrible experience. So instead of using Stack Overflow, I decided to go on Reddit, and people on Reddit are very friendly. I don't know if it's because of the karma system or what, but they are more forgiving. So even if you don't give them a reproducible example, they'll actually create one for you and explain to you step by step. So that's very cool for that. Yes, so R itself has a very steep learning curve. So if you want it to be your first programming language, probably pick Python. Python is much easier. Another issue with R itself is also it has long processing time for huge data sets. So if your data set is like gigabytes to terabytes, it will take quite some time for it to run. So you know that the R itself, they run from top to bottom. So if you try to import your data set at the top, you have to wait for it to load finish before it can continue to the next line of code. So if your file size is really huge, then this can be an issue. So in terms of data manipulation, I think R is as effective as pandas in Python. So I use tidyverse, I use dplyr to do all the data manipulation, to clean up all the data, to actually add in new columns or to remove columns or to filter off some data that I actually want to show. And yes, R itself is a terrible language in my opinion a few years back, and I totally hate it. So now that I'm actually a full-time data analyst, I can no longer depend on a cheat sheet to run my script, and I have to be self-competent in order for me to excel in my work. So I was introduced to 3 frameworks from my boss. The first is the R-Shiny framework, and followed by R-Shiny dashboard framework, and lastly the R Markdown framework. So you see, here's the thing. My day-to-day operation involved the creation of interfaces and dashboards for our stakeholders, right? So we generate huge amount of data, and how we can actually capture all this data and then do some processing and then do some analysis on this data, after which we then generate this final result and insights to our stakeholders. So in order for us to do that, we have to make use of dashboards and also interfaces. So what do I mean by interfaces? Interfaces whereby the user can actually key in their data. So for example, I work in a manufacturing industry, so we have night shift and day shift. So for each shift, after they actually end the shift, they have to key in some of this data. So through the use of our interface, we are able to capture this data directly into our database, after which then the data from the database is then sent to our dashboard, and everything is updated using real time. So all of these are actually done using these 3 frameworks that I've actually mentioned. And to be honest, they're actually top-notch frameworks. They are so much better than the Python's version of, I don't know, Plotly, Bokeh, Flask, and they're actually not that difficult to learn. So after I've actually completed this introduction to R programming tutorial series, I will be moving on straight away to R Shiny and R Shiny dashboard tutorial series, so people can actually not just focus on analyzing their data, but also be able to actually present the data through the use of dashboard and interfaces. So the last thing that I would like to mention is this R Markdown framework. So if let's say you have to generate a report on a day-to-day basis to your boss, to your stakeholders, and all this data you use Excel, for example, and then you plot all the charts using Excel, and it takes you probably 15 to 30 minutes a day to generate this report, and then you send them off by an email, right? So for R Markdown, it's a little bit special. So in a sense that you can actually automatically generate report using in the form of a Word document, PDF, and also an interactive HTML file. So if you want the user to be able to interact with a graph, so they can just click on a button, they'll be able to see the graph yesterday and the day before. They can actually this R Markdown framework can actually generate a report based on the data that you actually give them. So after which you can then send this data to your boss, and your boss don't have to actually install R or download all this framework. They don't have to even install anything, because the report that you send them is in a HTML form, and you can open up HTML file using your own computer's web browser, right? Like Safari, Google Chrome, Firefox. And yeah, that's the cool thing. You don't need to install any of these R programming packages on to your stakeholders' computer in order for them to see the interactivity of the report. So in terms of the topics that we're actually going to cover for this course involve, number 1, R and RStudio installation. So I'm going to show you the step-by-step way to actually install that onto your own computer. Number 2 is actually data types, so things like factors, scalar, list, and so on. So third is actually reading files, so how to read Excel file, text file, CSV file, JSON file, and so on. And then next up we have data manipulation using the tidyverse and also the Dapler package. And next up we have functions. Functions are exceptionally important. And next up we have conditional statements, so things like if-else statement. So if-else statement is something you're probably going to use a lot, and we're going to touch on that. So next up we have data visualization, so how we can actually use Plotly and ggplot2 to do all the graph. And lastly we have is statistics. So for this course, all the exercises and also the course material will be on GitHub, and I will provide the link to the GitHub in the description below. In terms of discussion, so let's say if you have some questions that you want to ask, you can actually go on to the Discord. So this YouTube channel is built on top of the Discord, support the Discord channel, and I think it's very useful for you to actually utilize the resources on the Discord channel, as not just I will answer your question, those people that are free on the Discord channel will actually also answer your question, and from there you'll be able to learn. Number 3, solution will also be provided at the start of each new tutorial series. So for example, in the second episode, when I talk about the second episode will be about installation. Let's say for the third episode where I talk about the data structure, I'll be providing the exercises at the end of the episode. So at episode 4, at the start of episode 4, I'll actually go through the exercises and provide you with the solution. And of course, the solution will be provided on GitHub, and you can actually follow the solution there. And if you do not actually understand anything, feel free to contact us on the Discord channel. So this is actually our Discord channel over here. And if you have any questions, you can move down to the question section under our programming, and you can actually key in your questions over here, and I will try my best to answer you. And usually I take, depends on the question, I'll usually take 2 to 3 hours to answer your question. But if it's a simple question, usually I can answer it during my lunchtime. And yeah, you can fully utilize this Discord channel, not just for our programming. You can use it for Python, SQL, all these visualizations, statistics, and so on. And of course, you can go around here and talk about anything that you want on the chill corner. And then for the general question, like for example, I would say for general, you can talk about anything, whatever. But for career wise, a lot of people talk about career. You can actually you can actually write your career questions over here. And usually what I do is I will actually, depends on the kind of question you ask, I'll actually send you a private message to explain certain things to you. Yeah, so this is the Discord channel. I will include the link to the Discord channel in the description below. You can just sign up and join. It's totally free, you don't have to pay. Yeah, so this is actually the GitHub page for this course, so I'll include the link to this GitHub in the description below as well. So over here, if you put hover your mouse over to this section, you can see that we have a first branch here. So here we have episode 1 course overview, and then subsequent episode I will actually include the branch over here. So we have episode 2, for example, installation of R, and then episode 3, data structures. So over here you can just go over to the branch over here and then switch it accordingly to the episode that you're interested in. And then of course, in order to download the course material, you can just move on to code, and then you can just download as a zip file, and then you can just open up the file and all the material will be inside there. So next, I want to say thank you all for watching my video. And of course, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on the Discord channel. You can ask me pretty much anything, about programming, about career, about football, about food, about movies, about games, anything. You just reach out to me. My LinkedIn profile is also on the welcome page of the Discord channel, and you can reach out to me and connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.